Let's get started. Welcome again, everyone. We have 50 people. I think it's close to a record, right? I'm not sure when there were that many people for a meetup. So everyone must be hooked.
Oh, you stole my joke.
No way. We have a special guest speaking today. Sara is originally from Portugal, and she's living in Berlin. And she's a JSHeroes ambassador. And I really mean that. Like, I think she was the one that made us coin the term ambassador, because every conference I would go in Europe and I was telling people about JSHeroes, they're like, oh yeah, I heard Sara telling us about it. It's really cool.
It's because I cried in the interview.
She was really one of the best brand ambassadors for JSHeroes. So we want to thank her again for that, and thank her also for doing this presentation. That's all. The webcam is yours.
Thank you. And so is the share screen. Okay, Alex, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to start with a small backstory that starts in Oktoberfest. So if you don't know Oktoberfest, it's that thing that happens in October, where if you submit, I think, 5 pull requests, you get a free t-shirt to any open source project, which basically to me is like the month of the year where I get a free t-shirt, because the CodeSandbox repo is open source and it's great. But a lot of people have to do pull requests. And at the time, it was like when we were trying to convert a lot of the things to hooks on CodeSandbox. So we thought, like, let's create a master issue, and anyone who wants to work on converting it to hooks can just do it here. And we were like, it should be easy to like check out these things, because it's just like you replace set state with use state. Like it should be fine. It was not fine. Like it was actually quite terrible. And I think that's when we realized that like useEffect is incredibly confusing. I think that was the point in which we were like, what the fuck is happening? And we had to send a bunch of pull requests down because we couldn't understand how to replace everything with useEffect. And we were just like, I don't think this is gonna work. And there's like 5 or 6 components there that are still kind of like basically classes. So like along that time, I tried to figure out useEffect, and I thought I did. And I thought I was fine. And then I started writing a book about like the things I use in React and stuff like that. And I realized again that I do not understand useEffect. And I feel like no one does. And I feel like it's just something that is not easy. So my talk today is going to be about the psychological effects of useEffect. I am aware now, because some person corrected me on Twitter, that I misspelled psychological, but no one cares. I copied it out of Google now. I hope everyone's happy. Okay, so my name is Sara. I currently am a front-end developer at CodeSandbox, which basically means that I make buttons and modals and forms at CodeSandbox, because everything on the web is basically either a modal, a form, or a button. Just look it up. I live in Berlin, and I am originally from the sunny face of Europe, which is Portugal. I'm still not sure if it's the face or the butt of Europe, but we'll get to it someday, I don't know. But I'm originally from Portugal. And you may be wondering, why did someone from like this sunny place of happiness would move to Berlin? This is the part where I shit on Berlin. So like, you need to understand that Berlin is the land of sun and architecture. Look at this, it's a beautiful passage. There's also very gourmet food that comes from all the spazies that you can imagine. So a spitzy or spazi, if you don't know what it is, it's basically like a convenience store that sells cigarettes and beer. And sometimes it's open until 2 a.m. And there's always people like drinking outside of the spitza, and you're like, you couldn't really find anywhere else to drink. And you're like, fine. It's like people drinking outside of a gas station, basically. It's very conservative in nature. Before I moved to where I am, I used to live in Prenzlauer in the part of Berlin, which is actually quite conservative, but in front of my house, there was this huge dildo king ad. And this part here is a kebab store. So it's basically, that explains Berlin, basically. And it has the best airports. Look at this shit. It's so bad. This airport is so bad. We have one that's kind of okay. The government closed it because of Corona. And honestly, I'm heartbroken. But we're not here to talk about airports. I wish we were here to talk about airports. I could feel like an entire hour of me just fucking ranting about airports. We're here to talk about React. React is JavaScript, right? And JavaScript stands for job security. And honestly, I'm the same. No one can convince me otherwise. I don't know why this only has 79 likes. Are you hooked yet? Thank you, Alex. Thank you for ruining this. Okay, so let's start with like, yay, back in the day when we were all sweet summer childs. And I still lived in Portugal where there's summer. We had component life cycles. So there's a bunch of other component life cycles, but most of them are like prefixed with unsafe, which means they're unsafe and you should not use them. So I didn't put them here. So we had things like component inbound, should component update, where I've seen the worst use of should component update was when I saw a project in one of the companies that I worked in, where there was a bunch of people that didn't know how to do, they were backend developers of PHP, and they tried to use React. And instead of like mapping an array, like normally you do in React, they imported $ from jQuery and they did it for each and appended HTML to the like a list. And you're like, what happens when it updates? You return false. So trust me, you can never see worse code than that. So you're gonna be fine. And you have COMPONENTDIDUPDATE and you have component will unmount. These were the main ones that we would use on a daily basis. Like there were a lot of component life cycles. Like it was a lot to remember out of the top of your head. But like, can you guess when COMPONENTDIDUPDATE ran? It ran when the fucking component updated. Like it's in the name. Like it's very obvious where like COMPONENTDIDMount renders. Like it renders when the component mounts. And you're like, wow, magic, right? But that was too easy. And we couldn't have that. That's not the German way, even though they're not German. But that is not the way that we do things in the JavaScript world. You're like, this is too easy. We can't do it. Gotta make it weird. Okay, so that's the thing. And if I tell you like, there's this new thing that basically is lifecycle method. It's called useEffect. Can you guess where it runs? Everywhere. Like it's literally everything. So you have, instead of having these 6 functions, you have this one tiny function that is usually actually pretty fucking massive. But you have this one function that does everything. And that's incredibly confusing, at least to me. So this is the basic thing of useEffect. So you have a function called useEffect, and out of it, you run something, and in here, can I do this? Oh my God, I can. You put your magical code here that's like, I don't know, usually fetching stuff from an API. And you can also do this cleanup magic, which is you will always associate it with component will unmount. And I always associate it with it. And I got into so many issues with that because that's not what it's supposed to do. Because again, that would be too easy. And then you have the dependencies array, which in this case, I show it as an empty thing. So you have 3 things to play with that are supposed to make everything. There's what? No, wrong, right. You have 3 things to play with that are supposed to be everything that like 8 component, I have no idea how many. 50, I'm kidding, like 6 component life cycles we're supposed to do. And that makes it, where is it? Okay, it doesn't matter. That makes it super confusing. So this is a CodeSandbox, but I just, after a while, you may be wondering why I'm using my local editor. It's because I'm gonna break the tab. And if I break the tab in CodeSandbox, I literally break pretty much all of the browser, which is not a good idea because I'm running on battery because I have no fear. It's like if there's too much Q&A, I'm like, oh no, my battery's dying. Oh no. Okay, so let's create a useEffect real fast. So, oh, sorry, let me increase the font size. Open user settings, font size, let me set it to 16. Good start, there we go. I think that was too loud and I apologize. useEffect. Okay, cool. So we have a useEffect. And in this, oh, I should explain what the code does first. So you have this, which basically just toggles the fancy text here, which is something called React Spectrum that it just shows this instead of like lorem ipsum, blah, blah, blah. And you have something that increases the counter. It doesn't say time and times because no one cares. This is a demo. And someone says it's not 1 times. I know it's not 1 times, it's 1 time. And in here I have a button that toggles the fancy text and says show text equal to not show text and puts a times click +1, and then this just has this. So like no animations, no fancy stuff. We also don't care about what it returns. We only care about this. So let's run something on every render. On every render, I want a console. Sorry, I have a German keyboard, but with a Portuguese thing, and it's very confusing. The Portuguese one would take 2 months to get here. Like I get that. So if I do this and I save, oh, I was in the error step. Oh my God, I was like, oh my God, did I really already screw up? That was fast. Increase the counter, and then you have something that says what? Can I zoom on this? No, apparently I click zoom and it does. Wait, okay. I don't know where the plus button is, but it says what? That's cool. So we run this on everything. Okay, cool. And you may be wondering like, that's cool. So this means that it will render when this changes, which it does, and it will render when this changes, which it says 10 now. And so that's cool. So like basically what useEffect is a component did update with a small, really fucked up twist. That is that if I reload the page, it actually also runs on component did mount. So it's like if you put together component did update with component did mount, just to make it more confusing. Okay, so what if you want to run it only when the thing starts? So you put an empty array in it. So this is called the dependency array. So this means that what actually, like the way they envisioned this is that you can pass several arguments as the third argument in useEffect. And these are all the dependents that useEffect has. So the way that React works is, for example, if you change the state, it's not like an object assigned. It actually just re-renders the thing with a new state, for example. And it passes the state down and it re-renders the thing and it checks like, okay, if this changed, run this. Like if the value that's here, so basically it's like if it gets this value here, show text here, that means that basically when it runs this function again, with show text equals false, it will see like, oh, this is not true anymore, this is false. So it needs to rerun the thing. And you may be wondering like, okay, that's cool, but the point is like, why would you pass an empty array? To me, to this day, this still sounds like a hack. It sounds like something that they were like, this sounds like it's gonna work. So this means that if there's a dependency array and you change when something changes, if there's nothing on it, then nothing changes. And you're like, I guess, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't think that was supposed to be the thing, but yeah, sure, why not? So if you're thinking of it as a dependency array, you can start to see different things. So let's do something. If I come here and I say, lol, you guess what happens? Lol also never changes. So this actually never runs again. The dependency array, there is no actual specification that says it needs to be empty. Like you can put whatever you want in it. Like if it never changes, then it only runs once. You can put text in it, you can put a variable in it, you can put whatever you want in it. If that thing never changes, it actually can only run once. Does that make sense? Does that make more sense than like, to run it once, you must pass an empty array, only, all the time. You actually just need to pass something that never changes. Because what it check is like, has this lol changed? It has not changed lolito, so it's fine. It will not run again. Okay, so up until now, we're fine. Okay, so let's try something. So let's say you wanna run something on component did unmount. And that's usually like the first thing that I would do is that I would come here and I would say, okay, so that needs to return a function. So that's how it works, is that you need to return a function. So let me return a function, and that function returns console.log. And you're like, okay, so this is gonna run on the unmount of the component. So like when I reload the page or something, let me just write this. And you're like, that makes sense. But on the other hand, it doesn't, because it also runs here. So this actually does not run on the ending of the life cycle of a component, of the entire component. This runs on the end of each useEffect. So basically, if this only runs on the start, for example, like this, you're fine, and that will never run unless I can like just break this component really hard. But if I run it on everything, this means that basically everything is broken. This means that you are doing this on every single thing. So the point is, if you want to do something on every render and you only want to unmount it on like unmount of the component, you actually need two useEffects. So you need to do this, and then, wait, where's my mouse? There we go. And then you need to do this, and it's also like a lot of boilerplate. And then you need to return this console.log. And this will run every render, but this will only run in the last render. So like when the component gets unmounted, which was not a very good example because I cannot test how a component gets unmounted. But you get my drift. Oh wait, I can. Wait, but I gotta change the index. Oh my God, this is so hard. Okay, const home. Okay, you're now uppercase, I don't care. And okay, const show, set show, whatever. Set show equals, please don't do this. It really bothers me, I don't know why, to when people are like lazy and they're like, react.useState. I don't know why it triggers my bones inside. I don't understand that either. And this returns either, so if home, if show, it returns app. If not show, it returns null. That was stupid because I need a button. We can do this together as a family. And now button on click, set show equal to S, not S, 1S. Yes, why not? Toggle everything. There we go. And now instead of this, I show home. And has a thing called toggle everything. And now I'm going to do something very, very bad. Ugh, I know. I am very aware that this is disgusting. There we go. Oh, look, space. Space. I don't know if it's worse than being like style equals margin bottom, but at this point, I don't care. And now it actually runs this thing. So the first thing that needs to be like thought into is that the return function that's supposed to be the unmount is the unmount of the actual effect and not of the component, which is a completely different thing from component will unmount. And I think the mistake that I made, for example, was that I just tried to map different uses of useEffect into different components like life cycles into different uses of useEffect. And you cry in the shower alone because that doesn't work and it's very sad. All right, so I hope this makes sense. I hope this makes sense. I have no way of knowing because it's an online meetup. Alex, can you make a thumbs up if this makes sense? It makes sense. Thank you, Alex. You are the best. You're the only person I can see. So like if you laugh, I'm good. And now he feels like he needs to laugh. Okay, so let's continue discovering useEffect. Okay, so let's do something. And I actually think I saved it in Pacey. Where's Pacey? There we go. There we go. So this is just paste. I can just like do this. Okay, so let's see. What the fuck are you doing here? Okay, so in this case, I'm returning a function, right? And the function is that you need to return something. And it says, if the times click is equal to 0, you say show text is different than show text. So what means is that if I reload this page, why is the text not showing? Whatever. And I do this, everything worked. I know why. Wait, sorry, there we go. Look at this marvelous piece of technology. This is why I can run it inside of, yeah, there we go. Oh my God, oh, everything is okay. Okay, so this says like, okay, if times clicks equals 0, then set show text to not show text. Okay, so I need to run this on when time clicks, when show text changes. Okay, cool, so I can just pass this on show text. But there's a problem here. And the problem is anything in here will run on mount as well. So another issue that I've had with useEffect is that it's gonna break everything. No, it's fine. Beautiful, beautiful. So one problem that I've had with useEffect is that if I wanna do this, which is very shitty code, but the point is, if I wanna do this and I only wanna run it after the component is mounted, well, then that's terrible because I can't. So the thing that, if I run this every time times click changes, the same thing happens. Actually, the times click change, yeah. And now, wait, what? See, this is the problem with useEffect. You're like, now that I think I have this figured out, I don't have this figured out. No, it does console log it. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, but it doesn't unmount times clicked. That's the thing. So like, so times clicked needs to change for this thing to actually run. Okay, let me go back to the start. So if you do this, this only runs on start, right? If I do this, this also runs on, start and when times click change. But on start, it runs on start, right? All good. But it doesn't do the unmount on start because that thing is not unmounted. It's all good. And then it does only unmount, like it only changes this when you increase the counter. When you increase the counter, it actually runs this. But the problem is this is never 0. Okay, so let's put this as 1. And this means that if I increase the counter to 1, everything breaks. And you're like, why? Because it says something really beautiful. It says that destroy is not a function. And you're like, wait, what the fuck does that mean? I can show you what that means. This means that if for some reason the function that you have in here just returns null, you have a function that returns null, for example, and you want to run this when you do show text, which can happen if you have an if inside of it. So if I toggle the fancy text and I toggle it again, oh my God, sorry, it's like this. And I toggle the fancy text, everything breaks. So the thing is, you can never return null in a useEffect. If you have any type of if statement, anything that may return null, just, you can't do it. But I'm gonna show you something really stupid, which is, not this. I mean, this is also stupid, but it's not what I mean. If you return undefined, everything is fine. Because apparently undefined is a function, but null is not a function. That doesn't make any sense. I honestly don't know why this is a thing. I think someone tried to talk and I hope Dan Abramov is not in this conference talk. Oh my God, is he here? Alex, can you check? Thank you, Alex. Okay, so this is starting, I think, to make like slightly more sense. Okay, so let's actually like get something from an API. I think, oh, I can write Kanye.rest. There we go. So this is a random API that I keep using because it just returns text. It's beautiful. And you just call this. Okay, so let's do that at the start. And let's call, so fetch this, fetch this. You got this, right? There we go. Okay. And then you do the thing that, no, wait, what am I doing then? I can just do async. Yeah, I can just do, so this is an async function. And you say, await. I mean, I still want to do it then because the thing is just like not fun to do like then and r.json. And okay, so let's say like console.log, just await, const data equals this. And now console.log, this data. Okay, cool. So let me return this return undefined because that's just stupid. And let me do this. And where's that? Inspect. And I go here. So something that you should know about useEffect is that, oh yeah, and it's console.log that quote. Okay, so this works. But you should not, like, apparently, the thing is, you should not get a useEffect function should never be asynchronous. So the reason for that I found is that this is run in a very specific time. So you run this when the, like, for example, the show text changes. So that shouldn't be an asynchronous return, which makes sense. So let's do this on set show text. So if I go here, you can see that it also runs on start. Great, that makes sense. Toggle the fancy text. And since it's not on start, this says the same error, which says destroy is not a function. And you're like, what? So point is, you cannot do this because that is not the German way. That's too easy. But it does make sense. So the thing is, effects have to be synchronous. They can have promises inside of them, but they can't be asynchronous because they need to run at a specific time of your code. I hope that kind of makes sense. So you actually need to run this in here, and this can be async, and it equals async. And then you can put this in here. Okay, not like this, that's terrible. And now you need to return data, that quote. Ooh, yeah, data transfer, yes, that quote. And okay, so in here, I completely broke this useEffect. So let me just write it again because I think that would be easier to them. Okay, so now I can actually say, so fetch data, and that's fine. Oh, I have to call it that then, and then I can run a console.log. And now it works perfectly fine. So if I only run this on show text, it runs in the beginning, of course, that makes sense. But now it doesn't break anymore. So rule number 34, no, that's actually the actual rule of the universe. Rule number 75, do not put async functions in useEffect. It will either not work exactly the way you think it will, or it will just break your app completely. And you're like, what the fuck just happened here? That's because it needs to run at a very specific time. You can't do async things because React then won't know when this actually runs. And it needs to run it at that time. It does give you an error that is actually quite useful. So if I copy all of this and I put it in here like this. Oopa. No, yes, maybe, let's go, exactly. Okay, so and I go to the error, it says like warning in an error thing. You have console.log warnings. I don't know why this is an error, even though it's a warning. But that's besides the point. An effect function must not return anything besides a function which is used for cleanup. It looks like you wrote an async effect, which returns a promise. So that's the thing, it will always return a promise. Okay, cool. So I hope this is making more sense. So now let's try and do something, which, oh, I don't think I have the thing installed. Okay, so let me say that every time I click on show text, I wanna increase the counter, right? That makes sense. Why wouldn't I do that? That is a completely normal thing that you would do in your daily life, right? Okay, so I wanna say that every time I do this, so every time I increase the counter, so it's show text, I wanna say set, okay, no, not sayet, saute the show text, set number times clicked equal to n, and let me just say n plus 1. That's not plus 1, sorry, German keyboard. So this means that when I click here, destroy is not a function. And you know why? Because I forgot to take the async off. Let's do it. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, it already ran on start, and if I click toggle the fancy text, that works, and that's fine. But the reality of it is, I don't have the thing installed, so this will not show me the error. I need to go on CodeSandbox. I am so sorry. Because I don't have the React hooks yes lint plugin. And now I need to click on fork, so I need to move Alex. There we go. So if I copy and paste this in here, there we go, and this, and add React Spectrum. Okay, cool. And now I get an invalid hook call because it's not the latest version. There we go. Okay. It looks like you have done this and cried in front of the, I have, like literally 20 minutes ago. I was like, what the fuck is this not working? Okay, cool. So we have this, which makes sense, right? All is good. Set number of times click and toggle the fancy text and everything is fine. But it should give me an error. What is the error of this? I can also do something really fun, which is like set show text equal to not show text. And if I do this, what are you doing? Why are you? Oh, set show text. I am so sorry. See, this is the thing that people usually correct me when I'm like in a live audience. Toggle fancy text. That's cool. So basically every time this effect runs in the start, it just toggles the text. So if I rerun this, it basically just sets it to false. But it gives me an error, which says React hook dependency is missing show text. Oh, I know. Okay, sorry. So if I do n+1 here, not n, but times click plus 1. So that's what I want. Sorry, German keyboard. I'm going to apologize for the German keyboard until forever. Okay, so that's cool, right? Right? I get a non-value, which makes perfect sense. I actually have no idea. Okay, there we go. So this runs on start and it says, okay, so when showText changes, I need the ESLint plugin. That's why we're on CodeSandbox. I am aware. There we go. Beautiful. So when the showText changes, just do this, which doesn't make sense, but you may want to, like, when something changes, you may want to trigger something else, which is a completely valid thing. So what happens is if I toggle the fancy text, this happens, and I can also increase the counter and toggle the fancy text. That's cool. But I only want to run this when showText changes. But the issue is that if I will get an error which says that React Hook useEffect is missing a dependency times clicked, which that's the thing. So the thing is, you're using something inside of useEffect that's not being tracked. And React is like, you're using something here, but you don't care when it changes. But you need to care when it changes because you're saying like, I want to get to times clicked. So this can actually bug out because the thing is, you're not checking exactly what the number of this times clicked is. You're only checking if the show text is toggled. So there are ways that if you do this really fast, I'm definitely to God rules. There we go. Some of it bugged out, but I don't have a keyboard. But like, if you do this really fast, if I could do this really fast, but my hands are sweaty from doing a conference talk, I can't do it. Okay, but the point is, it will catch the other value and not the actual value that you want to do. But you may think, okay, fine. Okay, I'll shut up this and I'll add times clicked. But that really puts you in an unlimited, no, it's not butterflies, it's just flies. That puts you in a limited loop. I don't think it's an unlimited loop that's called. It's now called an unlimited loop. That's what we're calling it. Because you're running this every time times click changes. And times click changes every fucking time. Because you change it inside of the useEffect. And you're like, how the fuck am I gonna fix this? You can fix this with a very nasty, it's not nasty, it's actually quite nice. So you can get times, you can do two things inside of useState. I can change it back because this is gonna break into zero, like no time. You can do what I did, or you can do this. So actually every useState, you can call a function with a previous value. And that previous value will be, so you'll get the previous value and then you can append to it. So this will ensure that you actually don't need to pass times clicked inside of it. This will ensure that every time this runs, it will actually go recheck how many times you have actually clicked on this button and how many times are in there. So this will only run when I click this. What? Set number of times. Oh, I didn't save. No, I did save. That's interesting. It's not interesting. It's just weird. Oh, I'm only running this on start. Times clicked. No, it's not that one. It's on show text. So this will ensure that React is aware of what is happening in this in this state right now because it has to refetch it, and it's also aware of what's happening in show text. So we will update the component itself when show text changes. It doesn't need to care about the other one because the other one is all like encapsulated in here. And now it works. What if I do something like this? Oh, no, chill. So I return this. Oh, wait, I clicked something really bad on my computer. So what happens is if I click the fancy text, it's always 0 because it goes to 1 and then it goes back to 0 because that's what happens. So the way that this works is that I can say okay, just bear with me as I remember how to use window.set timeout. If it's not this, I'm sorry. I haven't used set timeout. I'm like, this gonna work? Everything breaks. Okay, that makes sense. Because destroy is not a function. That actually makes sense. Weirdly enough, that makes sense. Okay, so if I run this 2 and then run once and I toggle the fancy text, it's actually always going to be just 1 because in here, when I unmount it, it's actually going to unmount every time this thing changes. And you may be wondering, what is the ultimate trick to run this like only when show text changes and not on the start. Well, that's the thing. I don't have one. So you can use refs. You can also use state, which is kind of like dirty, but you can say like const mounted, set mounted. You can also use refs for this. Set mounted equals use state false. And then you go on the first one. And I swear to God, I hope this works. Set mounted equals true. Yes, I think that makes sense. And if mounted, you run a console.log. And let's hope to God that this works. Oh, not here, Pepe. In here, exactly. Like a good boy. Oh my God, I think it worked. Yes. So if now I toggle the fancy text, it actually only run this in here, which I'm right there with you. Like, this is not the best way, but the thing that I think happened a bit is that it's one function literally trying to do everything. And when you try to do everything, some edge cases are gonna miss and some things are gonna get confusing. And kind of what got missed in the midst of all of useEffect, that happened to be COMPONENTDIDUPDATE. So to do COMPONENTDIDUPDATE, you actually have to check, has this thing mounted yet? And if it has, then only run it there. But for that, you need a mutable thing. I think you can, let me try to do it with refs. So I can say const mounted equals react that use ref. And I'm gonna say null. And then set mounted is not defined. I know, I'm aware of that. Mounted.current equals true. And then if mounted, run this, if mounted.current, run this, and that still doesn't work because that makes perfect sense. See, this is, next talk is gonna be about use ref because I feel like this should work. I feel like this definitely should work, and yet it doesn't. Oh, okay, wait. Because this one is completely, okay, so the difference is that I've learned in the last couple of days, and the rest was literally just now, is that useRef is actually English is so hard. Can be used for more things than actually getting the refs out of, like getting the jQuery thing out of the thing, like out of an HTML element. So that's what you usually use refs for. But refs are actually a mutable value that will not re-render your component. So the difference was that if I put a set state in here, it will re-render the component. So we won't run them, it will only run this afterwards. But if I do this, it will actually just continue because it's mutable. So this is also something that you can do, which I do think is kind of cleaner. But on the other hand, if someone looks at it, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Which is also a valid question that I do not have an answer for, but that's cool. Okay, so yeah, that is pretty much what I wanted to show you. This is like all of the really weird edge cases that I found with useEffect. There will be times where the React like hooks plugin that I showed that I don't have locally because I don't like it. The hooks plugin that I showed like will catch some bugs, but there will be times where it will just, it's not exactly what you want. And that's also okay. If I go, I'm just gonna do something real fast. Okay, so let's go here and let's look for ESLint. It's like exhaustive depths, I think. Okay, it's here. Okay. There we go. Sometimes it just doesn't do what you want it to do. Like, it's fine. So in case for this one, the thing is, for example, this is a modal. Let's say this is a modal. I can show this in here, that's fine. So I'm gonna copy this in here. And I don't need this because it won't give me the error. But what I wanna do is like, if you click ESC, it will also set the show text. Oh shit, ESC is not defined. I mean, that makes sense. I swear to God, if it says ask only, no, okay, it says something else. That's not ask, that's good. Okay, so if I click ask, now it also, you can't see me, but I actually have an ask because this is a 16-inch MacBook. So I have an actual ask. I hope you can hear it. It's beautiful. It also does this, but it will tell you like, I want to see when listen for ask changes, but you're like, but I don't care when it changes. Like, I just genuinely don't give a fuck. So that's the reason why that thing is there. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it will give you some random things. So this one is because it needs, oh, this one, for example, let's delete this. And there you go. Okay, as missing dependencies, like all of these. But the thing is, I don't want local team. Like, I don't care. I actually don't want it to change. So there will be cases where it won't work. And you'll be like, okay, that's cool. This one's, I think it wants filter to go, but I'm like, I don't want it to go. Like, so the thing is, for example, in this case, let me try to explain this case. So in this case, I am getting all the filters that come out of the user, like selecting, like, I want to see it. All the React sandboxes, for example. And I set the visible sandboxes to like the filter that we have and blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to run it when filter changes because filter will change more times than this case. It will also change when like you scroll. So it doesn't make sense. That was a lot of complaining. I'm tired. I'm tired of complaining. That was great. Okay, so a couple of things that I want to leave right now is that, so if I add this and I say that I want to run something on unmount, so I do this and I say console.log a, this will not run on component will unmount. To run on component will unmount, you have to do this. This will run when the effect like unmounts basically. So it's a cleanup to this effect. It's not a cleanup to the unmounting of the entire component. The reason we use an empty array is because an empty array never changes. That's the only reason. You can use text, you can use numbers, you cannot use like fake variables, but besides that, you can use whatever you want. As long as it doesn't change, it's actually not gonna get used again. You can use this as a comment thing. It's like, in here, what the fuck, VS Code? Okay, there we go. In here, I run console log. Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, it's fine. And remember, you cannot return null. You cannot return null. Oh, shit. Wait, sorry, show text. Because this will only run on mount. Remember, you can never return null, but you can return undefined. And that's completely fine. That's completely fine because undefined is a function, but null is not a function. So there's a couple of errors that you should look out for. If you have an error that says like a warning that says, so if I do this, actually, you will have an error. If you see an effect must blah, 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 it means you're probably returning something that you shouldn't, and you're probably returning null. You can return undefined. Yes. And there's the other error, which is when you're doing async things, you cannot do async things. Like, you just can't. You can kind of do it when you like when you do it on mount, but I would say it's a terrible, terrible thing to do because it's not how the way hooks were intended to do. They should be synchronous because you cannot return a promise. And this will also give you an error. And yeah, I think that's about it. So let's just do something fun with this. So let's say that every time show text changes, I want to return set show text equals to not s not show text. That makes way more sense. And that's what happens. Because you're basically saying every time show text changes, as a cleanup effect, I want you to set it to the other thing. So if you want to create like an infinite scrolling thing, I would totally go to the depths of useEffect. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoy this effect. It's very, very good. Has it had really terrible side effects on my brain? Yes, it has. And I want to say that if you do this, you're actually running, I forgot about that one. If you do this, there we go. That was Portuguese cursing, I'm sorry. Yeah, wait, there we go, beautiful, beautiful. If you do this, you will be like, oh, okay, what's happening? Wait, why can't I click this? Oh no, wait, I broke it. I broke everything because of my infinite scrolling. Oh wait, I'm not, oh, God damn it. Wait, inspect, we got this, we got this. Okay, reload. Oh wait, not here, here, like this. Like you just shouldn't do this. This is actually, I think, not at this point, I don't even know. I guess they have a safeguard for this now. That's nice. So actually you can do this now. In the old days when we were all summer childs, this would be the return and it would only run on unmount, which doesn't now. So that's nice. Also, please stop calling it unmount like I do because it's actually not unmount. It's a cleanup from the effect that you're using. So if you only want to run something inline, you can now do this, which is also pretty nice. But I feel like our memories are now just used to doing this at this point, and that's also the same thing. There's no A. I want to console dollar. Okay, it's S now. That's nice. And that's nice because it runs on the mount of this component. So every time I toggle it, it actually runs, and if I return a function, it only runs S and now runs on. So this is literally componented mounts, components with mounts. Okay, so that's pretty much what I have. I'm done with complaining, I think. I am never done with complaining. So the reality is useEffect confusing? Oh my God, yes. I don't understand why Grammarly is running on slides.com, but we'll have to deal with that later. But yes, like useEffect is extremely confusing. Like I can't find the best ways to explain it because I feel like the thing is like, unless you actually wrote useEffect, you're gonna be like halfway through and you're like, what? It is confusing, but you'll get the hang of it eventually. Like at a certain point, I feel like now I can predict a lot of the things, except this last one apparently got updated, which is nice. But in general, I feel like after a while, you can actually predict a lot of the things. And like, if you like the way I teach, I'm writing a book about like these types of things in React and packages and stuff. It's on Opinionated Guide to React, and you can subscribe. It should be done by this month, I think. I've sold a bunch of copies that weren't finished, but that's about it. It feels so weird for me to like market stuff. And I forgot a thank you slide, but thank you so much. And I hope this made sense. And yeah, it's time for Q&A if anyone has any questions. My wife is clapping. Thank you, Bebe. Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions?
Everyone is muted, by the way. So if you have questions, you have to unmute yourself. Oh my God, my Chrome is still broken. I can't close. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Oh, sorry. So now I understood how to do component update. Thank you. I don't know why I said thank you, but yes. Okay. Oh, sorry. I didn't check the chat. So let me just check the chat. Session is being recorded. Yeah. Now I understand. When should you use layout effect? So use layout effect runs after, from my understanding, because like, I know, right? So from my understanding, and let me just double check. I think the thing is, use layout effect runs after paint. What? Use layout effects go before rendering? Okay, it runs before paint. Use effect. Okay. I have actually never used layout effect in my entire life. Okay, what the fuck? We recommend starting with use effect. Usually, what this, after all DOM mutations, yeah. Yeah, so this run, no, I think the thing is like this, so usually out effect runs after all DOM things have been, oh my God, there's a timing of effects here. That is insane. Yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, the function pass to useEffect fires after layout and paint. During a deferred event, this makes it suitable, blah, 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 blah. However, for example, a DOM mutation that's visible to the user must fire synchronously before the next paint. So usually out effect runs like after every DOM thing is done, except paint, from what I can understand. But to be honest, I have never used usually out effect. It only differs when it's fired, yeah. Until the browser has painted, it's gonna, yeah. So useEffect runs after paint, usually out effect runs before paint. I think. Yes, that's it. Yeah. The only difference is the paint difference. That's why it's called layout. So it's more like if you want to do actual DOM CSS manipulation and stuff like that, that can be very costly in terms of paint. That's why. Oh, I forgot to show that you can't like conditionally fire an effect, which is very sad. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's for actual like DOM specific things like measuring, changing sizes, changing colors, because it runs before paint. So it actually doesn't have the flicker, which like, yeah, never used it. Does anyone else have any questions?
I actually have a question. Did you have any, or do you have in general any problems with managing components which get too much of use effects, or you get the functions you have to scroll through because it does too many things now?
So the first thing that I, like the beginning, when I used to just like, if you have to do 10 things on start, I would just run them all in the same effect. I've learned that that's a terrible idea for maintenance sake, that you just get a huge function. So I think the first step is to divide it into several, like if one gets data, the other one measures something, but only on start, they should be two different effects. Like it's hard to make sense of that since we only had one component in mount, but that is the way that they want it to be. Do I have things that scroll forever? Yes. Do I have utils.ts on my folder just to put the things that have effects that like how 350 lines? Yes. Also, another way of doing that is to make a custom hook what's inside that effect. So basically when you make a custom hook, you just create a function called like use something, and that will run basically what's inside of you can just copy your effect into that custom hook and you will run there. So it's more isolated, but there's not really like a great, I can't delete code on with my mind. I wish I could, that'd be great. But yeah. So I'm gonna be very honest right now. And I'm gonna tell you how many tests CodeSandbox actually has in terms of like unit tests. And that's like 20, but all of them are TS files. We actually don't test any React files. And I actually don't know, like I just don't know. We do a lot of like automated testing and storybook testing, but we don't actually unit test useEffect or literally, I think anything in React. Sorry about that. Nice. We use TypeScript though. Yeah, we use TypeScript as well. Do you use still classes with the lifecycle hooks? There are a couple of components that use classes, mostly because of component will mount, and we couldn't fix it yet. There used to be component did mount and also component will mount. Component did mount and component will mount, which ran just before the component mounted, which doesn't exist anymore, except if you run use layout effect on the start. But it still didn't quite fix it. We have like 5 files that are like that, that we couldn't write, like get the time to do that. I think yeah, no, but it doesn't quite work because component will mount actually ran before all the JavaScript, like for that component started rendering, and layout effect actually runs before only the paint. I don't know, but we couldn't figure those one out, but it also didn't have a lot of time to like figure those one out. But we have only like 5 components that are like that. There's also like, and all of these are actually going to be deleted because we're refactoring the dashboard, and all these components will be deleted. But like the thing is, sometimes like what happens is that you need to cut the entire component and just restart it. And we didn't have the time to do that. We were just trying to make it fast. But right now it actually like in like 3 weeks or something when we release the dashboard doesn't have anything else with that. So that's nice. Any other questions?
How often do you end up with infinite loops or something like that when using a lot of use effects? And
you have no idea how many times I broke my computer. So that's the thing. Like if you have like a huge component that only has like, so we use MobX, which like if you're tracking something in, we use we do not use MobX, what the fuck? We use Overmind, which is like the same idea. Like if you're tracking something, you will just re-render the component. And sometimes I run useEffect to actually like set something in the global state on mount, for example, but I forget the array and then it just runs every time. So it actually sets the global state and then comes back, it's like I've changed. And then you're like, what the fuck is happening? Why do I have 300 requests to this API? Because you forgot the dependency array. You forgot it. Yes, that happens to me all the time. Don't worry. I think that happens to everyone. Oh, does it? Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about testing the testing library. I do hope we start using it. We do want to start using it, but we're on this like very like high like just do everything phase, and we're just bumping out features. And yeah, I mean honestly, it's the life of a startup. You're like, I'll write unit tests one day. That day is not now. That day is like after the next funding, but then you get the next funding and you're like, shit, now I actually need to write the unit tests. Yeah, but I've heard really good things about React testing library. I have used it in side projects, but never in like actual things. I also want to point out that the name is fucking genius, by the way. Because if you like literally write React testing, it will just show React testing library. And I feel like no one appreciates that enough. I feel like that is a god of marketing right there. And I'm pretty sure it was on purpose. I respect that.
any other question?
No?
Going
Cool.
on? Twice?
No? You're welcome,
Yeah.
Andrew. Cool. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I hope this made any like more sense. Oh, Portuguese people. Nice. There's only 10 of us. If you have any things that you think I should also explain in this talk, like I want to make it better, please let me know on Twitter. I'm going to post my Twitter thing. My messages are open. Please let me know. I want to make this talk even better. And thank you again for coming. It was great.
Yeah, thank you
De
for the
nada, de nada.
presentation.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.